So if I could invite all of our speakers from today to come up and have a seat up here, and as yesterday, we'll have about a half an hour for questions. So questions. Yes, a hand shot up here, and Andrew's bringing down the microphone right here.
Hello. My question's for Dr. Bloom. Hope you don't mind me bringing it back to the beginning of the day. Over. So, one of the things that I really enjoyed about your presentation was the comparison between, let's say, like monasteries or libraries of the Euro-Christian kind of world, and how they compared to the amount of books that were held in, for instance, and the libraries of the Islamic world. And so one of the things I was thinking of was, and this is based on my limited knowledge of the history of print and so on, is that conceivably, if let's say one is a learned person in a Christian library, they could conceivably like learn and study and almost acquire like all knowledge that is available to them through their library and their institution. Very much in contrast to like some of the other Islamic libraries that you were referencing, and the fact that there's literally like 30,000+ volumes there. So my question is this something that perhaps learned individuals of Islamic cultures, were they concerned possibly with like the maybe a sense of anxiety about like literally being able to come to terms or acquire like all the vastness of the knowledge that was available to them at the time, if that makes sense?
Does that work?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, they were, and they traveled, and this was that we know. I mean, we know from these from books and from the biographies of the kind that Dana was talking about, that we know that scholars moved from city to city in search of knowledge, and to sit at the feet of a particular master and to hear a book from him. Particularly, and then would travel on, and that many scholars moved around the Muslim world to get the knowledge that was available in one particular place. So, yes, there's a wonderful story, I think, told about Al-Ghazali, who was, whether it's true or not, but it's a great story. He was apparently traveling with some books and was attacked by robbers. And and he said, "Take anything, but don't take my books." And the robber said, "What do you do for a living?" And he says, "I'm a scholar." And they said, "You don't know your books by heart?" And so Al-Ghazali took that as a lesson and started memorizing more. So yes, they did travel. They did travel around and travel enormous distances.
Another question. Yes, up here. Anastasia.
I'd like to thank all the speakers for wonderful presentations today. And my question is to Jonathan and Kristine. I've been working with the Quranic manuscripts from West Africa, and I'm interested in a particular type of paper with the Trilloon type watermarks. And on some Qurans, I found images of 3 crescents with the human faces, and actually smiling faces. I believe they are from Venetia, the Venetian manufacturer, but are you familiar with the smiling faces? And another type, a double-headed eagle.
There's, that's a great question. One of the interesting things about paper making is that it spread to most regions and of the Muslim world, but it didn't spread to West Africa, and which raises all sorts of very interesting questions about why it didn't. But then the Venetian, by this point, by the time that Islam is really coming into force in West Africa, the Venetians are exporting their paper widely, and so the Treluna, this with the 3 crescents, is the sort of standard paper that's exported in the Muslim world, because many of the people did object to the typical European watermark that might have representations of animals or figures and stuff. However, there is a famous fatwa by, that's collected by Juan Sharisi, I think it is, who is a North African jurist who was very concerned about the legality of copying the Quran onto paper that had representations of human or Christian symbols or something like that on it. And he said, just as the Quran has effaced or superseded all revelation that preceded it, so too the copying of the Quran would render any image null and void on the paper that it was copied on. So I guess that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions, other comments, other thoughts? Yes, yes. Mark.
Okay. My question is for Kristine. You mentioned that in analyzing some of the parchment in these two manuscripts that you found calf skin and sheepskin, but no gazelle skin. And I'm wondering if gazelle skin ever actually does show up, or if that's just a
Well, I
story.
mean, I think at the moment the corpus simply isn't big enough for us to be able to say categorically one way or the other. And certainly what we see in the varied manuscript traditions are a vast range of materials being used, and that's a vast range of animals being used. So you see snake, you see fish, you see pig, you see all different animals being used. It's not unreasonable to suggest there may be some manuscripts made of gazelle skin, but they certainly don't seem to be the norm.
Just an interjection, all these things, fish and the like, were used for the support on which they were writing, not for the binding materials. Or
you see different things used for the binding materials as well, but for the page, for substrate as a parchment, by which we just mean that processed stretched animal skin, yes, you see all of those animals.
Did they smell? I'm a sort of dead fish.
But it's been processed.
Okay. Yes, down here.
This question is for Heba. Heba, when you made your presentation, you talked about the questions that everybody always asks. What is Islamic art? What is contemporary? What is history? If we say that we all believe that Islam is a way of life, and it is a faith for today, when do you think we're going to get away from that discussion and actually be a little bit more embracing to say there are different forms of art today, which by what they represent, whether being the ethics of the faith, as opposed to one representation versus another, that it's an all-encompassing form where we think of Islamic art as something of today? Maybe that's not a fair question, but...
If I understand correctly, this is the problem, where to fit everything in today. It is difficult to see all of this massive amount of art produced and not really being able to categorize it or to understanding totally. I think that by maybe breaking down things a bit and understanding and scholarly research being done a little bit more, understand and discuss with artists, we can understand more what's going on today.
Did we have a question over here? I saw the microphone. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to ask my question in Arabic. It's
sure.
For Nasser.
And then Heba has volunteered to translate it because she has a microphone.
Oh, do you want me to do it in Arabic?
No, we'll do it. You do it in Arabic, and she'll translate it in English.
Thank you. Actually, because she's involved also in the discussion.
ناصر في هذا السؤال ما بينتهي، كنا في نقاش أنا ودكتورة بركات هلا خلال الاستراحة عن تعرف حضرتك بديت كخطاط خلينا نقول كلاسيكي بالمعنى العام للكلمة مع الدراسة الأكاديمية للخط مع القياسات المضبوطة وأنواع الخطوط، وبعدين انتقلت لتصير أكثر فنان تشكيلي خلينا نقول تستعمل الخط كأداة لأعمالك الفنية. بس بدي أعرف رأي مثلا أستاذك اللي علمك الخط بأعمالك الجديدة كأول سؤال يعني، وكيف بيشوفهم.
يعني
could you just give Heba a moment to translate, because some of the people up here are not going to know what the question was. So
she's asking to go back to
just into the microphone, Heba. Sorry about that.
I can repeat it in English if you want. Okay. Actually, because there is there is this question that always asked, and we were in discussion with Dr. Barakat this afternoon regarding it. There is always this discussion regarding the classic Arabic calligraphy, like what Nasser did as a start for studies. All this Sulus, Kufi, with all these measures. Like when you see the calligraphy, you don't. The measure of seeing this artwork is by. Like it's really like it's calculated by measures. Yeah, and it's not like aesthetic way of seeing it. And later on, now as we saw with the collection that Dr. Barakat showed us, and like with طبعا Nasser is showing us in his artworks, he moved from calligraphy, classic calligraphy, to use the calligraphy as a tool for his artwork. So it's more like a visual artist using a calligraphy. So I would just ask him a very simple question: what does his teacher think about his new art?
طيب في البداية هو طبعا لما عملت العمل تبع كان في عمل قبل زمزم كان هذا هو يعني شوية طالع فيه ومعدي لي هو يعني إنه ما كان مقتنع مرة كتير باللي قاعد يسويه، وبعمل زمزم يعني كان شوية مقتنع لأنه هو في حيكون يعني خط فيه واضح، وكان في بقى كتير يعني جزء من الأعمال كان بيقول لي اوكي كمل يعني مشي موضوعك، لكن ما كان عنده كامل قناعه انه اللي انت قاعد بتسويه شيء كويس يعني في الاخير. لكن قطعت منه فتره لانه هو انشغل وانا بديت اشتغل في اعمالي، وتلاقينا بعد فتره ورجعت اشرح له ايش بسوي، رجع انبسط مره ثانيه انه اوكي لا يعني طلع موضوع منه فايده في الاخير يعني. أولا يعني في كثير من الخطاطين أنا عارف إنه هو تكلمت معاهم مرة كثير إنه اللي بتسويه هذا مرفوض كثير بمجال الخط، لأنه في أشياء منها أنت بتطلع عن فكرة القاعدة، وفي أشياء منها حتكون أنت مع هذا الشيء. ولكن أنا برأيي إنه الخط هو حرفة، هو شيء بيدك في الأخير، أنت زيك زي أي حرفي تاني موجود، لكن دحين أنت إيش حتقول في الحرفة اللي عندك يعني. وفي الزمان لما طلعت يعني زمان ما كان في إلا الكوف المصاحف، وبعد كده طلعت كل الخطوط الثانية، فلما طلعت الخطوط الثانية ما حد قال إنه أنت جالس تخرب الخط، ولا أنت جالس تضيف شيء جديد، ولا هذا يعتبر إنه هو برا موضوع القاعدة ولا داخل موضوع. فيعني كان الإبداع أو إنه أحد يفكر بدا الشيء إنه هو يضيف هذا الشيء، فكان شيء جدا مرحب فيه على تاريخ الخط أصلا. وبعد لما انقطع خلينا نقول يمكن قطعت الاتصال بين الحضاره القديمه وبعدين رجع الاتصال بالحضاره، فهم اعتمدوا انه خلاص هذا زي ما كان نرجع نكتبه زي ما هو وزي ما هو موجود، وعلى الكل انه لازم هو بيكون خطاط لازم يعني. انا ماني مع ضد انه هو هذا الشيء موجود، هو انا مع انه هو موجود وانه هو يبقى موجود كتاريخ، وانه خطاطين يبقوا موجودين محافظين على التاريخ، لكن مع مره ثانيه انه يفكروا بشيء ثاني يعني. بس انه يعني هو كحرفه بيدك جرب تعمل فيه اي شيء غير انك تكتب فيه زي ما هذا. على الاقل انه فكر يعني لما تروح معرض حق خطاطين الحوار كله على التكوين وعلى خطك ضعيف ولا خطك قوي، ولا الواو عندك زايده هنا، ولا الالف لو رقصته، يعني هذا كل الحوار اللي حيكون يعني. لكن ما تسمع احد بيقول النص اللي اخترته كان مره رهيب، او ما تسمع احد يقول يعني. حتى في المسابقات الخطيه اللي بتصير هذه اللي حيفوز في الموضوع كله واحد من اثنين، يعني انه واحد خطه مره قوي وهذا منه كثير، اول شيء ثاني انه هو عمل تكوين جديد لكن هو له علاقه بالنص ما له علاقه بالنص، هو دحين مو هذا المهم قد ما هو والله سوى تكوين جديد، سوى حركه جديده في الخط، فهذا اعرف انه هو حيفوز في المسابقه في الاخير. فلكن هذا اللي دائما بتحاول فيه مع الخطاطين انه هو بيدك الموضوع صار يعني خاصيه تكتب انت مغمض انه تكتب الحرف مضبوط، لكن دحين ايش حتقول فيه اصلا يعني.
Other questions? More questions?
This question is for Nasser as well, and is sort of a companion question to the one that was just asked. It was really interesting to see your contemporary approach to calligraphy, but I'd love to know a little bit more about what contemporary artists you are looking at that are non-calligraphers. For example, artists working in neon, when you're working on your light piece.
Can you repeat this because we were?
Oh yeah, sure. Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, in pieces. To paraphrase, I'm really interested in learning more about the contemporary non-calligraphy artists that you're looking at that maybe you're inspired by. For example, neon artists, contemporary sculptors working in solid concrete pieces that are working with public spaces or commissioned work. Did that make sense?
What other artists is he interested in? Is he looking at who works in neon or who works in other things, not
ايوه بالضبط يعني ايوه والله فنان طلعت اعمل لكم مشكله مضبوط ما اعرف حتعلم انجليزي واجيكم مو مشكله.
You who speak perfect English, you already told me about your childhood in English. And
لسه تفضحينا يعني هذا الفهم. يعني حقيقي يعني بعد ما اخذت تجربه انه افكر مع الخط بشكل اكثر خلاني هو اصلا كثير انه اتابع كثير من الفنانين، لكن حقيقي ما بحفظ يعني تلاقيني بحفظ خطاطين كثير، لكن في عالم الفن يعني قليل ما بحفظ اسماء مين هم الاشخاص نفسهم، لكن تلاقيني بتابع كثير منهم لانه لما تكون انت فنان حتنتبه اكثر لحياه ده الفنان، هو طبيعته زي طبيعتك الفنيه اصلا، فحتتابع معاه وحتبدا تفهم انه هو بيشتغل. لكن بالنسبه لي انه مهم لي انه انا افهم ايش مشروعه وافهم هو بيفكر في ايش، وبهذه الطريقه لانه طبيعي انه انت خلفيتك البصريه او خلفيتك الثقافيه كلها جايه على الخط، فمن الطبيعي انه ما هو كل شيء حيعجبك من اللي بيعمله هو هذا كفنان، لكن في فنانين ثانيين بتلاقي عنده هذا الفنان هو من اهم الفنانين وشايف اللي بيعمله شيء مره فظيع لكن بالنسبه لي انا جاي من خلفيه غير عن خلفيته هو وثقافه غير ثقافته هو، فماني فاهم يعني شايف انه الموضوع مره عادي يعني، لكن هو شايف الموضوع مره رائع معه. فبكون دائما انتبه لبعض المشاريع لفنانين، لكن حقيقي قليل ما بحفظ مين هو الفنان او ايش، لكن في عالم الخط هو بالنسبه لي اهم، واللي هو اهم لي انه انا بدف الخط لمكان او لمساحه جديده. فمره مهتم ليش بيعملوا الخطاطين، مره مهتم الى الان بشوف هم فين وصلوا ومسابقاتهم ومين خطاطين المعاصرين وايش اخر انتاجاتهم ومتابع على الانترنت كامل الخطاطين ايش بيسووا على كل حساباتهم. ف بالنسبه لي اهم انه انا اضيف الخط لمنطقه معينه، ومو مهم انه ما بكون مقلد لانه بس اخذت النيون من هذا عشان عجبتني فكره النيون اقوم احطها عندي، ولا عجبتني فكره الكونكريت واحطها عندي في الاخير، لكن اهتم كثير انه انا ادف الخط وادف المعنى لانه هو يوصل لمنطقه متقدمه اكثر.
Yes, Soraya, down here. Here comes Andrew.
A question for Nasser. How comfortable is he in the way that he's being collected by museums, galleries? Has the calligraphy world, the traditional calligraphy world, turned its back on you? Being a practitioner myself and using animation and modern techniques, I personally don't feel I've left my craft, but I find that the world views it as if I have, and there's now this kind of separation. I don't know if you could translate that. Okay. هدى.
تسألك عن
مش عارف يعني هي فكرة ترجم له مثل ما هو شايف ما عندي كلمة شايف ترجم له.
يعني اتوقع هذا الشيء بالنسبه للخطاطين اظن من اول مطلعين من الموضوع مو جديد يعني. لكن لسه انا علاقتي مع الخطاطين لما دحين بتواصل معاهم لكن اللي قاعد يصير في الخط وعملت حوار مع اكثر من خطاط انه كيف نفكر من جد انه نرجع نتكلم مع الخطاطين ونجرب تجربه انه ممكن نعمل زي ما نتعامل مع الفن، انه نختار موضوع وانه الخطاطين يشتغلوا على موضوع معين، لكن انت لازم تبحث في ده الموضوع اللي بتعمل فيه، ولازم يعني في تاريخ الخط هتلاقي مثلا البسمله، هتلاقي في ايات معينه في الخط على مر التاريخ هي انكتبت وعادت والى اليوم ولل دحين قاعد اكلم فيها، في خطاطين قاعدين يعيدوها في الاخير. لكن يعني برايي مو برايي انك انت اللي يعيد في فتره انك انت تتعلم الخط، فتره انت حصلت على اجازتك في الخط او عديت المرحله، فيعني الدور عندك يعني. فأنا أتمنى بالعكس إنه هذا الشيء يرجع، إنه يكون بدل ما هم يطلعوني برا، نرجع أتمنى إنه هو يكون موجود هذا الشيء في الخط، لأنه هذا اللي حيساعد إنه حيتطور، ولا غير كده يعني يمكن يوقف الموضوع.
Another question, and perhaps anybody have a question for Massumeh? Yes, a question for Massumeh right here is a. And we're going to make you answer it in Persian, Massumeh. That'll really flummox everybody.
Yes, both for Massumeh and Heba as curators. In terms of contemporary Islamic art, where is the place for calligraphers working in a traditional style?
Maybe you could start again.
Okay, for both Massumeh and Heba in their role as curators, where in collections of contemporary art is there a place for calligraphers working in the traditional style? Because most of the calligraphy I have seen is not traditional calligraphy at all. Living traditional calligraphers have been excluded, it seems, almost excluded completely from collections. Where is the place for them? Who collects their art? Why isn't, if it's not being collected, why not?
I can address that. We actually do collect in that area, and what the name that we have for it is enduring traditions. So there are, and it's because we are a museum of Asian art, it's not just in the Islamic world, but also China and Japan. So we have created a place for it, but because it's really sort of the link between sort of more traditional and more earlier to contemporary. But there is a pressure, I have to admit, to collect more or focus more on the sort of contemporary as opposed to the more traditional, the ones that fall within the enduring tradition. But I think that museums do, but perhaps those works don't attract the attention that contemporary works do. I don't know about that.
Right. Okay, also in our museum, we do collect, but we also have, part of our educational program is to have courses, contemporary Islamic calligraphy, traditional. And of course, in Southeast Asia, the traditional calligraphy is the one that is more respected, understood, and appreciated, and people would want to see it. But in reality, they're not very attractive, unfortunately. They become repeated verses, and the verses, as my friend was saying, is actually not thought of, and it's not really improvised, or no, they are actually given to them. They study them and they apply them. But in our museum, we do collect, and we collect both the contemporary and we collect as well and encourage the traditional. The traditional comes under education. Contemporary is still, we have a question mark, where and what to do with it.
Jeffrey?
I'd like to ask Jonathan Bloom a question about the what we might call the mise en page of manuscripts of the Islamic period. In your book, I think you quoted Goitein as saying that there appeared to be a view that blank space was an offence to the eye. And I think you retorted that perhaps it was really an offence to the pocket. So the question arises of the relationship between white and black on the page. To what extent was it an aesthetic question, and to what extent was it an economic question concerning the minimization of the use of paper?
Well, it was interesting. Some of us had a chance to see some documents that have been collected by the museum, Egyptian documents, in Arabic script that range from the Fatimid period to the Mamluk period, which are all on rather crummy brown paper, and where they're written right to the edge, top to bottom, and they range. I mean, they include a letter from a woman complaining about her hip pain, and saying, "Oi, it hurts me so much over here," and this is to her doctor, and the doctor writes on the other side, takes the piece of paper and turns it over and writes on the other side. What's interesting is that this is exactly what we see in the Geniza documents too. This use of paper, you don't reply on a separate sheet of paper, you just turn it over and reply on it, and these are reused and reused. So, and this is rather crummy paper, but then we were in the galleries and you see of Mamluk manuscripts where you have beautiful white paper or pretty nice white paper with a lot more space between the lines. I think there is certainly for day-to-day use, people were very parsimonious with their paper and stuff. For books, I think it's interesting to see that something like Sirafi's commentary or the Gharib al-Hadith really write pretty much to the edge of the page. I mean, there's a little margin around that would then often be used, we know, for marginal notes by a later reader and stuff, but they're not huge margins and stuff. When we get to these large luxury manuscripts that are commissioned for religious buildings, let's say, and endowed in waqf, you get large margins. And it's a great question, because what it made me think of is it's exactly what we see in the Fatimid decrees, that with this quintuple spacing between the lines. This is a way that in these luxury manuscripts we're showing off how much paper we can afford to use. And Massumeh and I were talking about this with the Safavid, the Shah Tahmasp's Shahnameh, that, I mean, we're thinking about that 1,000 sheets of perfect of paper had to be made so that there could be the 650 or whatever, 700 perfect sheets that, that 20% probably had wrinkles in them. And, maybe you could deal with a few minor bits, but it's a lot of work, and it's showing off a lot by just the sheer mise en page, as you say.
Thank you, Jonathan and Sheila, for a fantastic symposium. Question for Massumeh, a brilliant presentation. For those of us who are interested in the social life of manuscripts, we want to go from writing to reciting, and also the poetics of Persianate poetry. It's fascinating, I thought, that you found Saadi inserted into, Firdowsi's Shahnameh. Have you ever thought about how maybe when reciting the Shahnameh, there may have been insertions of people reciting other poetry that reflects sort of a larger poetics of Persian culture?
I think that's certainly an interesting I think that's a very interesting observation. And I mean, given the fact that probably these texts, were read out loud, one can sort of see that, yes, I mean, they became sort of an occasion for reciting not only the Ferdowsi's poetry, but also other poems. especially because probably Ferdowsi's poems, the stories were quite well known. So people sort of, I mean, Shah Tahmaz probably knew it, you know, fairly well by heart. So sort of trying to sort of figure out what else relates could have been one way of sort of passing time in the Majlis. So I think it's certainly possible, but we have no, again, we have no evidence. So it's, at this stage, it's really conjecture.
Other questions? Yes.
My question is for Kristine Beers. I was really interested in the 1930s French rebound copy of the manuscript you showed. I was wondering if you think that's perhaps a more common occurrence than most conservation teams would know. Do you think that's maybe happening in other museums,
to be honest,
unbeknownst to them?
Okay. Actually, I think most conservators are very well aware that that happens a lot. It's unusual to find a specific piece of paper with the date on it, but you can normally tell, as we've been discussing, you know, European paper is incredibly different to Western paper. It then differs to the decade, so if not more frequently. So it's quite common to be able to get a good idea of when something like that happened. What's nice is when it ties in with, say, information about the acquisition of a manuscript, something like that, because it means you can localize its trade and trace its provenance a bit further.
Do you not think that was quite deliberate, the way they had 1932 nicely centered in the back? It wasn't like some reused piece of paper that got stuck in by accident.
I think binders are a crafty lot.
I agree.
And there's a lot of stuff like that you find in the back of manuscripts. I've seen images of medieval English manuscripts where between the spine lining and the spine covering, so an area that no one will ever see unless the manuscript breaks down, there's a very beautiful red sort of rosette. So that was put there deliberately, without any question. It wasn't reused material. But I think people just like hiding things like that.
Yeah, so it's a secret, a love letter in between the manuscript. Other questions? Other? No? Well, on that, I think we'll say thank you to our speakers. We have a few comments from Daniel Brown, the acting director of the museum. So I think it's easiest if you come up, and then afterwards, Jonathan, you and I are going to make a few comments. So I think if you all want to...
So I promise I'll be short. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. I must apologise first for not welcoming you to MIA at the beginning of the symposium, but I am very happy to have the opportunity to thank you all for attending and visiting MIA. This is the second time that MIA has hosted this auspicious gathering, and I want to thank Sheila and Jonathan for inviting MIA to be the venue and for the support of VCU, Qatar Foundation and Hamad bin Khalifa University. These collaborations are extremely important to MIA, and world-class symposiums such as By the Pen and What They Write only reinforces the part all of us play in the field of Islamic art. I just wanted to share with you MIA's beliefs so that you can see that the symposium fits very well with what MIA wishes to be known for. We believe the power of art is essential to bringing the story of our cultures to life and to shaping its next chapters. We believe that generously sharing our knowledge about Islamic art contributes to open minds. And we believe that museums are lively spaces, natural extensions to schools and universities where learning is exciting. I would like to thank all the speakers and contributors for sharing their knowledge and expertise and being part of such a fascinating and interesting program. Your commitment and interest to your field is evident from your presentations. And I'm sure I'm talking for everyone who has been listening over the last 2 days when I say it has been enlightening. I hope you have all had the opportunity to visit not only our permanent galleries, but also our temporary exhibitions, The Hunt, Princely Pursuits in Islamic Lands, and Qajar Women. I also know that some of you have had access to our back-of-house working spaces, and we are very thankful for your interest in how MIA operates, in particular with its collection. On behalf of all the staff at MIA, we hope our hospitality has met your expectations, and we wish you all very safe travels to your homes and look forward to seeing you again here at MIA. Thank you.
Well, I think we're just going to wind up very quickly here again with thanks to all of not only our sponsors, but I think we owe a round of thanks to our audience who have really been an engaged lot. I don't think I've regularly seen such good questions and so many people rushing after people in the hallways saying, wait, I want to ask you. So I think we should give a hand to the audience because they've participated. Early November will be fine. And then Jonathan is about to tell you we will be meeting again. We hope to see many of you again in 2 years. This is a biennial event. And by 2 years from now, we will have the publication in hand. Within the next 2 months, the podcast will be up on the web. It always takes a little longer than we hope, but you can download all of the lectures that you've heard here. And then you can go in 2 years and you can buy them with all the pictures in print. And for the next.
Yes, well, we've been talking about it. People have been asking us about how long this process takes. It's really about 4 years, if you can believe it, from sort of conception to resolution, so that we began working on this project 4 years, on the publication of the volume, or on the volume that has just appeared about 4 years ago. So we're in the middle of this one, and as Sheila says, in 2 years from now. So that takes us to November, early November. I think it's the weekend of the 4th, 5th of November in 2017. So mark your calendars. And we will be regathering this time where we started in Richmond, Virginia, at VCU. And we decided that since we've been looking at the past so much, and today we've been looking a lot at the contemporary world, that we thought that actually we should turn towards Islamic art today and in the future, and look at contemporary art and its relationship to the long tradition of Islamic art and some of these questions that Heba was talking about. So we're going modern. And you know, it's kind of odd for somebody, it's kind of odd to the two white-haired folks, or one white and one semi-white. But you know, I do not joke, but when we were students, the thought of even the 17th century was considered rather risque, and you know, it was sort of downhill there. Beyond the pale. And you know, it shows that even old folks can learn a few new tricks. So anyway.
May we all see you there in 2 years, and please join us for the reception outside, and then we'll be here until 5:30, until the closing of the museum. So. And again, we thank the museum for hosting us, and our sponsors, VCU Qatar,
and
the Qatar Foundation, and Hamad bin Khalifa University. So thanks, and see you in 2 years.